on here. And right now. Welcome. Hey guys.
You guys want to say it with me?
What are you going to say?
The intro.
Okay.
It's not on there.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay,
I already know.
Welcome to Kid Men Backstage, the place where we talk about kids ministry and take a peek behind the scenes. We try to share a little bit of what we've learned that works for us and some of our failures so you can avoid them. We release a new episode every Friday, and this is
your backstage pass
to see the magic or disaster that happens behind the scenes of our kids ministry. I'm your host, Gabe Baker. And I am joined today by
your co-hosts,
Anisha and Shaylee.
Wow.
Back again, people. Back
All
again.
right. Well, that shows that
memorized.
it's not a pre-recorded intro.
Yeah, it's not. It's not.
So, all right. We are, before we get started today, you guys wanted to talk about scam alert or something.
Scam
I
alert?
don't want to talk about scam alert. It's an embarrassing topic.
Well, we don't want to give away
You don't.
when this episode was recorded.
Oh, okay.
Right?
You don't want to give that away.
Right.
Okay.
Are we
Because we didn't want to
trying
give we didn't want to give away the last time.
Okay.
You told us.
So it's a mystery.
It's mystery,
Well,
but we
yeah.
got scammed into this.
All right. Well, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about the raging fire.
The raging fire. So
Add in crackling sound effects.
yeah, there you go. Or sipping in the straw. We'll see what that sounds like. All right. So leading in kids ministry is kind of like tending a campfire. I had this thought a little while back when we had a preacher talk about a fire, and I wrote a note down. But so when you first begin, and this is like with any ministry or any endeavor really, but when you first begin, there's all kinds of excitement. And so kind of like with a fire, especially if you start it like my brother and throw a bunch of gasoline on it, there's a bunch of big, huge flames right in the beginning, catch everyone's attention. Kids are enthusiastic, all your volunteers, your staff, they're eager, new ideas are just sparking everywhere. But just like a fire, like a real fire, it dies down after, like even with paper, the paper like bright flames and stuff, and then it dies down, and hopefully the wood catches on fire. Hopefully. And so ministry passion tends to die down too. And so the key is, like what I wrote, is these initial flames might settle, but underneath can be a powerful bed of coals. And so your deep commitment and your calling, and that just needs fresh fuel every once in a while to keep burning strong. So maintaining a fire isn't automatic. It requires intentional care. Yes.
Physical labor.
Physical labor. And so that's what we want to talk about today.
Physical labor?
Well, yeah, kind of. But, maintaining that fire and having a raging fire, of passion and, a ministry that's top notch and just, on fire for God and everything. So here's a story really quick to maybe give some context.
Okay.
When I was, I was really young, probably
I know the story.
8 or 9. Do you know this story?
Yep.
I was playing with my friend. We were playing, Cowboys or something. And we were out in this area that was what we thought was a bunch of sand. And so we were playing. Well, my foot sunk down in like a soft spot and down to like almost to my knee, but I sunk down and I got burned like really bad. It wasn't sand, it was ash, and it was a big leftover fire, like a big huge bonfire. It was on a farm. It was a big huge like bonfire, like probably 10 by 10, huge. And we didn't have any idea. And so my foot sunk down, I got burned, we ran cold water on it and stuff because we thought we were going to get in trouble, and finally got found out and put some burn cream on it and everything. And I'm alive, so it didn't.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I did know that story, but I heard it told differently.
Oh, really?
By you.
She's like,
By
it's
me?
quicksand and your brother died in the
I didn't know
story.
about quicksand. I thought you guys had.
It wasn't quicksand. I didn't.
Well, I know.
I didn't say
I know.
quicksand. No wonder it was different.
I know. No, like I thought you knew it was like a fire pit, and you guys were like playing with the coals, and then it was fire.
No, we didn't. It looked like sand.
The truth revealed.
Yeah. So,
Well,
but
that's
anyway,
a-
so
never
it
mind,
had
I'll
a bed of coals underneath that was still very much, very hot,
Alive.
and very much alive. Yeah, alive. That's a
Bed of coals.
good way to put it. So what are your guys' thoughts on this raging fire?
I think that equally how you talked about how it starts out, especially if you throw some gasoline on there and stuff, it starts out super huge and stuff. But I think equally it can not be starting. Because from personal experience, when I try to start a fire and you sit there and
That's
you go
good.
get cardboard and you try to put that in there and then give you lint from the dryer and try to put that in there and then you finally
Did you say lint from the dryer?
yes. And then you're building a little teepee, and you're getting paper and you're wasting printer paper and you're 20 matches
And then you start
deep,
crying.
and then you just go get your dad.
Yeah.
So I think equally
That's good.
it can be really hard to start.
Yes.
And it can turn into a raging fire if you don't give up. But, you let the teepee fall a few times and you burn, you just don't.
And you
never
learn how to
light
make a
it.
better teepee as you go.
Yeah, it's trial and error.
And you just
Learn what works.
And if you just give up, then you can't have that raging fire. But because it can be hard to start that out. It can be hard if you're working with nothing and you don't have a Sunday school or you don't, or it's very minimal. It's hard to just go from
0 to 100.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. And I think too, like what you were saying about the different types of paper and dryer lint, is the fuel. What is your resources that you're using that can make a difference. And so to bring this to Sunday school, sometimes we grab the wrong resources, or in any kind of ministry when we're starting out, to your point, we sometimes don't know the best way to start, and we have to flail and trial and error and figure out what works, and kind of try to make it happen. So that leads us to our first point, which is seasons. And so when you first start in kids ministry or a new, like if you were to first start your Sunday school, if somebody is first starting a Sunday school ministry, or even way back when your dad, before he was pastor, started the style of Sunday school that we currently do, which is I don't know, for lack of a better term, is like a one-room Sunday school, where it's not separate classrooms. We brought ages 5 through 11 into one class, and we have a couple other classes, but that's our big, the Bookers, they call it super class, I think, or something. So it's kind of our super class. Okay. And we've been doing that for years. And so, but when we first started that, now it was a culmination of a new theme, a new whole idea, everything. And so it was like explosive. And it did last for a long time with that raging fire, And so when you first start something like that, and even now we've been doing it for years, but when we start a new theme and everybody sees the new decor or even sees it being built, like we're building a playground or whatever, then there's often excitement that builds, and there's I want to say not apprehension, but what's
anticipation.
Anticipation. Thank you. Yeah. So there's anticipation that builds, and our themes typically, I say typically, our themes kind of range, but often we do 16-week themes. It's a long time. Mm-hmm. A quarter is 13 weeks, and so 16 weeks. By the time when we're doing a 16-week theme, if we're not careful, that fire has died down quite a bit by the end of that theme, and everybody's like, "This, I know it's not good." I mean, in one way, maybe it is, but I know it's not good when people start asking, "So what's the next theme?" It's like, well, we're still in this one.
Even those in between stages when we're in transition can get really tiring.
Yes.
I just think finding ways to switch it up helps
I think
with that.
a good something cool how we did this week is when we had altar service, it was more upbeat than normal.
Our normal altar service.
Typically it's
Normally
not
we have
upbeat,
a slow altar service,
like praying.
And, yes, and then today there was praying, but then it was worship, I guess.
Yeah,
and so I think that's cool too to have. I think that's something that helps mix it up just from.
Well, also,
today.
If you back up from that, typically our lesson, we don't do a bunch of object lessons because we do so much. Let me back up. I want to do more object lessons, just period. But we do very, very much drama. We have our theme skits that are happening we're really into it. We buy costumes and all kinds of stuff. Our Bible stories are always almost always multiple cast.
Everyone dressed
fully
up,
costumed,
props.
actors, sound effects, everything. So that's kind of so we kind of do that, and then typically right after the Bible story is the lesson, and it's often just talking head, but we are kind of wrapping up the Bible story and using that in the lesson, and then we go into altar service, and sometimes we turn it over to a different person or whatever. But today was different because we had Brother Kyle was John the Baptist, and he was preaching, and I told him, I said, I want it to be exuberant. I had Adrian, my son, get on the keyboard to do backup, and so he preached, and it was good. He did a really good job, and I think it was 8 minutes on the timer, which is a long time.
That's a long time to yell preach.
Yeah, in our Sunday school, 8 minutes is a long time anyway. But and Brother Brent came back, and he was like, hey, do you think we should just put 6 minutes on the timer? We notice.
He was like I'm just going to let him go.
6 minutes.
I'm just going to let him go.
Yeah, he was saying that.
So I was sitting in the sanctuary after Sunday school, and there was a little boy, and somebody was like, what happened in Sunday school? He didn't talk about, everything else that happened, all the very, very dramatic acting of the day.
Mm-hmm.
All
very dramatic.
Very scary, didn't talk about any of that. There was this guy, he was preaching, he was yelling, he just came in and preached. I was like, that, okay.
Well, that's good.
I was like, okay.
I mean, that's the part we wanted to get out.
It was very, and I think it's just because it was like so different
so
that
unexpected,
it's stuck in his mind. I think he's like, and he's really young. He's like probably one of our youngest kids.
That's funny.
So.
Yeah, and he came out. I was like, "What does he have on?" He had like some kind of dreadlocks or something.
Well, I told him.
Oh yeah,
he was
that was all
back there.
Shay.
He's like, I need some hair. I said, listen, John the Baptist was a wild man. He was not showered.
Yeah.
He lived out in the desert.
So
Get this
Kyle
hair.
grabs the gray wig, like the frizzy wig, and
Oh,
he's like, "This will do."
I was like,
and
no.
Shayla's like, "I think John the Baptist had dreadlocks."
And he was like, and he looks at me. He's like, he did. And then
he did. Slaps that wig on his head. Walks out
and
there
he
and
went up-
preaches.
He walked right out there. Because then, second thought, I was gonna give him that long wig we used for Samson.
The Samson wig.
Yeah,
And he too late. I turned around, he was gone.
No, I think that was perfect.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
It was funny.
He did a good job too, and he came back. He was wore out.
Yeah, he said
And
he was like, oh, I can't do this.
he was like, we just had Brother Cox here just recently, and he's like, I don't know how Brother Cox does that.
That's so funny.
Yeah, he was wore out.
He was wore out. So the next part of this is, like the story I told about the bed of coals, that my foot slipped into, is I think that we can use these seasons, like we can maximize these seasons. We can maximize the impact of a new theme, and don't be ashamed that it's attracting attention or whatever. Use it, but ultimately we need to have that bed of coals, and it's not just about the spectacular, or the flash in the pan, as your dad likes to say. It's not about just the highlights. It's about what is our focus, and our focus, connecting kids to God. And so what is our focus, and what are we doing day in, day out?
Yeah.
And, we talk all the time on this podcast about like the numbers. Yeah, we want to grow. We want people to get the Holy Ghost, all of these things, but it's not just about the numbers. It's not about at a conference or something, even how many kids receive the Holy Ghost. We're gonna be happy about those numbers, and we're gonna shout them and testify and everything. But it's not just about that. It's about what are we doing every day, day in, day out, that is
That's keeping that
contributing.
alive.
Yeah. So that kind of leads us to point 2 is fueling the fire. So just like the fire needs wood, we kind of alluded to this earlier about the right resource, but just like fire needs wood, and that's how you fuel a fire, is you put more wood on the fire. Our ministry needs fresh input. And so, like, I'll mention this, the Acts in Action curriculum that I'm a part of a team working on that. That's a great input. That's a great resource that people can use. But even just listening to podcasts like Kidman Backstage,
Shut up.
and but listening to podcasts that are about children's ministry, we'll say a list of them at the end here of good children's ministry podcasts. But doing that, and then reading articles, reading books, whatever, rubbing shoulders with other people that are in kids ministry, that kind of thing. Now, obviously, I, on a different level than a lot of our team, am doing that, with people from other churches and stuff. But I think that we can do that within our local assembly. You can get we talked about, I think not too long ago, with us on the podcast, we talked about brainstorming and that kind of thing. So I think that it's kind of like the iron sharpeneth iron, when we can get those inputs and different ideas. Sometimes I can get locked into one direction, and somebody throws out an idea. I'm like, oh, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
I think like if you were to have a conversation with like John Keach and I don't know, maybe even like Brennan, they've been in Sunday school for so long.
Yeah.
You guys might be on like one train of thought. Me and Shaylee grew up in Sunday school, and we like remember things. We have these new, like that's almost like a fresh,
totally different perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think those are valuable. That different perspective is really valuable. The other thing is, don't be afraid to try something new, to experiment. And this is bad for me, because I can get stuck in a certain way, and I'm like, this is working great. And so don't be afraid to experiment, because often when you do something, you try that new object lesson or whatever, you try something that maybe you don't typically do, it actually turns out really well.
Yeah, it can leave a lasting impact.
Yeah.
And I think going really fast back to the fresh input, I think that there are things like, okay, like, because if you build things, like you're the builder and stuff, like, and the guys, like if they help build the sets and stuff, and you might be thinking of a certain way or a certain thing, a certain concept, and being like, well, what's the way we could build this, but then we're not thinking at all about
we don't know
side of
measurements, we don't know how
we're
things
not thinking
work.
about building it. So we're just thinking like, what if this happened and this happened and this happened, and then it's like, if you have people who can think of this idea, and then you can have the people to be like, okay,
making it realistic.
How could we make this work and stuff? Because it might, like, you might not think of it because you're thinking more logistically or something.
Right, yeah.
But if we're thinking, okay, but if you did this, we can make this work. And if
Yeah.
And so I think the meshing of the two perspectives is really profitable.
Yeah.
For new ideas and things.
Yeah, that's good. It reminds me of a long time ago, I read an article about Harry Connick Jr. I don't know if you guys know who that is. He's a jazz musician. But Harry Connick Jr., he was directing like big band stuff, and he plays like every instrument.
I think we've talked about this.
Oh, okay, I probably have mentioned it before.
So.
But he was asked by the interviewer, do you struggle directing, like, let's just say the trombone? Do you struggle directing an instrument that you don't play? And he does play them, but his like main instrument is the piano. And so directing the piano for him is way different than directing like the trombone or the flute or something, because that's not his main instrument. And so he has his own limitations in mind. So like that made me think of that when you said, like, a lot of times we that are building something can be looking at the logistics, and God forbid, sometimes we can be looking at the easy way out, right? Because we're like, well, it'd be easier to build this slide just like this, and it'll be good enough. Whereas somebody, like you said, looking at the end result, could be like, well, it'd be really cool if it did this.
Yeah.
It'd be really cool if it, and then into a foam pit.
Yeah, that's my goal, is to have a catapult into a foam pit.
There we go.
Yes. a slide, like a diving slide, basically, where it goes, swoops.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
And the builder in me says, okay, that is very difficult to build, at least with wood, because that's what we typically use is wood, and so it's hard to curve wood. There are ways, but it's difficult.
Remember we had that really thin wood that one time that we had the slide and it was like goes up on the edges
Oh yes.
and it was like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, it was kind
And
of curved.
It went
shape.
so fast.
Yeah.
At least when
Most-
I
The
was a
OG
child.
slides.
Most of our slides
Yeah.
are pretty fast. I finally have gotten
And it
them.
was yay steep.
Yeah.
We went down real quick.
Yeah. Do you remember? It might be the one you're thinking of, but the one it was over in that corner and it went through the trees, through the forest.
Oh wow, that's so cool. I didn't
I
know. That's
kind of
not the one I'm
remember
thinking
that.
of. I'm thinking of the
Okay.
one where the other side was the fire pole, I think. It was like the first slide.
Oh yes.
I think.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That was
I think
that was an
that's what
army
I'm
thing, I
thinking.
think.
Yeah.
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 So
I just remember the fire pole from that theme. That's all I remember.
I
yeah,
just
we did
remember
we did a
Logan.
slide. That was
I
the
remember
first slide,
Logan,
and it had no landing. Just went down straight
Yeah.
to the floor. And then we
I
did
remember that. That's why I remember.
we did a slide that it went through. There was like we had the second level, and then you came over and you went down the slide, and we had a forest. So we had a bunch of okay. This is a cool idea for somebody if they have the room and they want to make a forest. Is we had carpet tubes. Like you can get them for free from the carpet store. They're these I don't know, probably 6-inch or whatever
And
carpet
they're
tubes.
tall.
Yeah, and they're 12 foot long usually. So we cut them different heights, and then we drilled holes in them at different spots.
Mhm.
And we had a bunch of cedar branches from some kind
Yeah, it
of
was real
Christmas
trees,
thing.
right?
It was
Yeah.
real, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was from the Christmas.
And so we stuffed them
I
in those
remember
holes.
doing that as a kid.
And so we had, and the, when as we were working on it, the pine needle, or not pine needle, but the cedar branch stuff got all over the floor. We left it. We didn't sweep it. So it kind of made it more real.
That's super cool.
And then we had those going up, and then we built the slide, and it was like on each side. And so like you could actually reach out and hit a branch with your
super
hand or
cool.
whatever. But you
I remember that. Was
that?
that was Army theme?
No, that one was the Gladiator theme.
Okay.
With the Coliseum.
Okay, yes.
Yes.
That's my favorite theme.
Yeah, and that went down. You came down and you landed right in front of a doorway to the city, to a Roman city.
That's
That
And it
is
had
so
a
cool.
it had a double door. You walked in and that went around.
That should be our next theme. We should recreate
So-
the Coliseum.
Yeah. So then the other one, what did we do? Oh, we did a slide that went through a wall and you landed in another room. Do you guys remember that? That was
I
a spy
remember
theme.
that.
It was right over here. When we had the black and blue, the stripes. So you went
I don't think
the
I
slide
remember
went
that
where
one.
our backstage is now
Oh wow.
was a different room. And so you landed, and the only way to get out, well, there was a secret door, but the only way to get out was you had to climb a net up to the second level. And then you went down a slide on the other side.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, so there was a net
fancy.
in
so
fact-
you couldn't get up that net. You're stuck.
In fact, the late brother Tim Daly and brother Chuck Mozingo, both of them have passed away. They both helped build that.
Wow.
And brother Tim Daly donated his nets. Those are the big black cargo nets we have.
Oh wow.
Those are from him.
That's
And
crazy.
so, but yeah, we would climb up. So you landed. You went down the slide. It was a tunnel slide. So you went down the slide from the main room, and when you landed, you ended up. It went through a wall, and you ended up in a different room completely. And the way to get out of that, you had to climb up the net to
Wow.
go,
Wow.
to the second
it's
level.
pretty intense stuff.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Okay, I don't know. That was a raging fire. I guess that's where we're at.
Raging out of
Yeah.
control fires where
Out of
we're at
control.
right now.
Okay, so number 3, watch out for fire extinguishers. So it's tempting, and this is especially for me, I'm like this, but it's tempting to focus on what's not working. It's tempting to, and there's some balance to this, but it's tempting to focus on what's not working. And so, of course, we need to fix and adjust and make adjustments to our methods and everything. But we need to focus on the positive things moving forward as far as in the context of fueling the fire, because I think that's how burnout happens often.
Mm-hmm.
Is I didn't even think about burnout. That's kind of like related to fire, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I almost said it earlier, and then I was like, nah.
So, but I think that's what happens is we get tired, but often what happens is we're looking at the things that are negative in whatever we're doing, the ministry that we're doing, and maybe things are just not going right and everything's not perfect. It's not operating correctly. And we start focusing on those negative things. And then that leads to the burnout. It's just like, what's the use anyway,
Mm-hmm. They're not putting full effort in anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think, like, when you do focus on those limitations, like we talked about a second ago, and you just, like, focus on, well, we can't do the river anymore because we have carpet in here.
Right.
And we can't do the fire pole because we don't have carpet in here. You know, and we can't do anything to the ceiling because it's finished, you know, or the walls because they have sheetrock.
Yeah.
But, so the focusing on the limitations or stuff like that is another thing that causes, I think, just being discouraged.
Yes. Yeah.
And cause you, and like for other people, like if you say like, oh, well, we don't have the space or something, you know, to do that, there's so many excuses that you can use as to why you can't do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you focus on that, I feel like that's really discouraging.
Yeah. Well, and it's, I just talked about this with somebody on a podcast, but Brother Aaron, I think, Ministry Momentum. And I was talking about John C. Maxwell says something like, he's talking about basketball, and he's like, when you're winning, nothing hurts. And then when you're losing, everything hurts.
Yeah.
So I think the same thing is like when you start going down that rabbit hole, it's just like,
you start nitpicking at every little thing.
Yeah, you just throw your hands up like, well, we can't do this, we can't do that. What's
and the costumes are wrinkled and we can't.
Yeah.
This wig is so tangled, it doesn't even look like hair.
This hat doesn't even fit on my head. That's what the guys tell me every week.
Yeah, and so then, whereas if you, I like what you said about the space, because we used to set up and take down every week. And when we did, like we've talked about before, but the first time we did Narnia or like the first Spy theme even, I mean, we've done different themes where it took a massive amount of work. But it was so many people were so excited about it.
Yeah.
And we were, you know, like the pirate ship, I remember that was pretty major in the fellowship hall. We would set that up every single week and take it down. And it was, it was a ship big enough to probably, at that time, maybe 30 kids or something. 30 kids fit in this, and it had a floor because one side was Navy
open, right?
and one side was Pirates. We had like an orangish color for the pirate
this.
decking.
I don't remember that, but didn't it one side like was open or no?
What do you mean open?
It was like half, wasn't it?
Yeah,
like half?
was it a half a boat? I thought it was a half a boat.
Oh yeah. Basically, one side was the wall with like a scene setter, and then the other side had a wood, like what do you call it, where it curves, you know, under, and then it had a railing. And we made these railings. The railings were probably like 18 inches tall with spindles, but and we clamped them on every Saturday night when we set up. And it was a different railing depending on what ship it was, whether it was the Navy ship or the pirate ship.
That's cool.
And so, but that was, I mean, major.
Yeah.
We had like this back in the back of the ship, or I don't remember all the ship terms, but wherever the back is, at the back of the
hull?
ship.
No.
No, it's like the
bow.
There's the bow
stern
and
the bow.
the stern and the bow.
I don't know
yeah.
nothing about boats.
Anyway, so in the back though, we had like this little cubby where the captain could go in, and then actors could come in and out from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and
I just remember
that was major.
I don't even remember his name, getting in trouble in there by the captain. That's all I remember about that.
Stevie, I think was his name. Yeah, Stevie got in trouble because he was trying to impress Betty.
Yeah.
And he steered the ship off course.
Yeah. But like that was like a fraction of the space we have now.
Oh yeah.
And like that's no excuse, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
and we made it happen. It was awesome. Okay, so number 4 is wildfire. So the most sustainable kids ministries are the ones that light fires in others. And that's kind of what we were just talking about a little bit. But I think when you do big things, the next one I have is when you light enough fires, even in kids, it tends to spread like a wildfire. So when we are passionate, first of all, we have to light the fire ourselves. You know, we have to be passionate about it. And so when we are passionate about what we're doing, and then even just as a part of a team, or if you're a lead, either way, and when you can get passionate about it, and you're talking about it, you're excited about it, it spreads.
And people want to be a part.
People want to be a part. Yeah, exactly. And we've had that happen where people come up, haven't seen our Sunday school, they come up for some reason to pick up kids or something, or whatever, and they're early, and they see what's happening. They're like, wow, I want to
Yeah.
be in this.
Yeah.
I want to do that.
Yeah. I think that excitement is contagious.
Yes.
And if you have kids who are excited and staff who are excited, then that will spread to others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll spread to the other kids. If you have a group of 10 kids who are just really excited about today's Sunday school, or just the staff, like some of the staff are super, excited about today's Sunday school, then that's going to spread to other staff and other kids.
Yeah. Whereas if you're like, I gotta go to Sunday school, or
I will say today I was not emotionally prepared for Sunday school, and I walked in there, I was like, I don't know if I can do it. I wasn't ready.
Yeah, we all have our days.
Well,
But-
today was just traumatizing. It really was. Like, I can't.
Oh, that's funny.
It was traumatic.
Shaylee's more scared than the kids.
I was.
when it comes to costumes.
My heart was racing. And we hadn't even started the whole scene yet. And we were just standing there waiting to go in. And I was like, no, don't look at me. I can't look at you guys. My heart was literally racing. I was like, I'm scared right now.
Did you get video of that?
Yeah.
Of that scene? Oh, I gotta
Yeah.
see it. Okay.
Oh, I was
Because I was on the other side.
Yeah.
I was about to cry.
I was
Like
doing the signal
directing
for Adrian. And so what was really cool is Ashton. He was like at home today. He was like, "How did you get the? What did you say? Oh, first of all, he was like, "How did Aslan get out?"
Yeah.
He's like, "How did he get out?"
Oh, that's so cool.
so
that
which was perfect because
yeah.
we were trying
Because
to
we were
make.
trying to figure out how we were going to
Yeah.
make that happen. Yeah.
And so I was like,
Also,
"That's
guys,
a secret."
I stuffed a body. I made a body. A dead
You
body.
don't reveal it.
Hey,
Yeah, don't
tips,
reveal that.
tips. Kids
But-
don't listen to this. What?
Yeah, they do. I'm
They
sure they
might.
do.
I
Um,
would be listening. I'd be like, what are
Would
they
you?
doing in there?
What are they doing in there?
And then he was like, "And how did the table fall at exactly the
that's-
right
At the
time?"
right
Oh,
time.
that's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, has he been listening to the story?
Oh,
Oh,
on repeat.
oh.
Okay,
yeah.
has Bentley listened to the story with him?
I'm not sure.
He comes
I
up
don't
to me
know.
and he's, Shaylee, just so you know, he's a real broken heart. He's like, Shaylee, like, just so you know, next week you're gonna get killed. And like he's real, just like so concerned. Like,
Oh.
and I was like, have you been listening to the story with somebody? Because he's
That's
he's like
funny.
wanted to let me know that, like, just so you know, watch out. So,
That's funny.
Oh man.
I didn't get any video of like the
she
stone
didn't say
table
that the
breaking.
table didn't fall.
Oh.
She didn't get a video.
It was really good though. Like
Oh man.
none
that's
of the kids were paying attention to it, just like how you said,
Yeah.
and it was really good.
Oh, that's good.
It was really good.
It's so cool.
Yeah, I was trying to play. We have a remote for the Q Lab, and so Adrian was using that. But the problem was he was needing to mix the mics because some people were too loud, too quiet, and stuff.
Yeah.
So he just went back over there. So I had to play the in between because we had that wall blocking everything. So I had to play in between and signal him when to do the different sound
Yeah,
effects.
I'm very proud of our Sunday school team because everybody did like all of the cues and everything were like perfect.
That's good.
Like
That's
with
awesome.
the music and then you running around and then the, what happened,
the fog, and the
fog, and then the
lights and
extra
stuff.
Because
stuff.
everything was crazy
Yeah.
today. Like I
It was
said,
good.
It was really good.
traumatizing.
Yeah, Shaylee's scared of masks.
Well, so
Guys.
this is the thing. I'm just standing here. I'm standing in the costume room. I'm trying to put the hood up over the crown and whatever. I turn around and Miles is just waiting, standing there with the devil mask on.
Oh no!
And he has this red cape and this red hood, and I wasn't expecting it. And then they all come running into the
Oh,
thing,
my.
and I am telling you, I was not expecting them to be so scary. I
Well,
don't know what I was
guys.
expecting. It was horrifying, and I was scared of them, and they were my minions.
Well, we
And-
had to cover their faces up because
Yeah,
they're
they were
double
other
characters.
people.
They're the
They're
good
good
guys,
guys, yeah.
and they had to be
Yeah.
the bad guys for
in
like
practice, I
3
told
minutes.
Anisha, I was like, so make sure they have
They look
really
completely
good
different.
Well,
costumes
it
because
was, and it was good.
they
'cause
were
I
like
was scared.
major characters, good
Yeah.
guys. You can't
Like,
have
oh,
like
that's the main character. I knew he was bad all along.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, wait a second, that's not how the story goes.
Like, wait, guys, wait.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, we are running out of time, so let's do a recap really quick. So with fires, is you have seasons, and so it's good to recognize that, and like we don't want to just accept slumps necessarily, but you got to recognize that you're not starting a new theme every single day.
Yeah.
And so you have to recognize that sometimes you just do what you do, but you don't go too long in a slump or a valley, and have peaks, have spikes that you can take advantage of. And then fueling the fire. So just new input, fresh ideas, brainstorming, that kind of thing. Number 3 is watch out for the fire extinguishers.
Mm-hmm.
Fire extinguishers can also be people. That's really negative, but
haters.
But yeah, haters. So you can have people that can be fire extinguishers where they're like,
and
oh, that's dumb.
unfortunately, I think that it can be people even in your Sunday school staff, within your staff, because you can walk in totally on fire about something and excited about something.
And they can shoot it down.
And then it could be like, well, that's a dumb idea. Well, that's never going to work. Well, that's not.
Yeah. So get rid of those people. No. But you got to work on those people and try to, help them to see the vision, light a fire under them, so that they're not a fire extinguisher. And you can do that. You can turn it around. I've seen it. I've been doing this a long time. I've seen it where somebody's like a negative Nancy. Sorry, all the Nancys out there. But somebody can be a negative Nancy, and then things turn around. And what's another word for opposite of negative that starts with an N?
Huh?
Opposite of negative that starts with an N. For Nancy, negative Nancy.
Oh, I was like,
and she becomes a
nutritious Nancy.
Not so negative.
She's
not so negative.
Not so negative Nancy. A lot of alliteration there. And then a wildfire. So if you can light fires under people and create a wildfire so it spreads. And then, okay, as promised, the list of podcasts. Can you guys read that? It's really far away.
Absolutely not.
So
YouTube.
So
Kidman Backstage
for the
podcast.
YouTube,
Kidman Backstage.
Hold on.
They also Kidman Backstage.
The YouTube Kidman Backstage. You can search Kidman Backstage, or the actual name is at Gabe-Baker for the YouTube if you want to see the videos of this podcast. And then we have Apostolic Children's Ministry 2.0 with Brother Philip Booker, great friend of ours. Apostolic Children's Network, and that's with Brother Chris Bradshaw and his wife. And then Growing Up with Papa with Brother Jason Ashley. And then Sunday School Minute with Brother Eric Stender. And then we have Truism with Brother James Pelletier.
You read all that?
This is This is the most impressed thing I've been in this whole podcast. Is you reading that
good?
Because
she's blind for real though. I could read it. If I didn't know your eyesight was that good. She could barely read those big yellow letters.
Can you read the timer? The time that shows how far we're over?
I can see that part.
All right, well, that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Thank you all for listening.